Might not be over yet. 5 seconds to go. He's let it bounce. 13! 13! Can you believe it? He's kicked 13.
God, it's over. Clark's done the damage. Australia win. Wonderful goal. So Zaha Marcus has kicked a goal. The Bombers are in front of the G. Here he is, bursting out like Target. Comes on the right foot. Stringer, he's alive. The pack.
G'day everyone and welcome back to another video where this time we'll be doing my 2022 AFL mock draft for this year's draft class. Starting off at pick 1, I'll have Will Ashcroft, the consensus number 1 pick this year easily, who averaged 34 touches a game, and obviously I believe will go pick 1 to Brisbane under the father-son. He's very good, got a good balance of inside-outside play, should slot I think into an outside midfield role at Brisbane, as they've already got a very good midfield with adding Dunkley there this year, and might play a bit forward, so hopefully he can kick a few goals for them as well. Coming in at pick number 2 to the GWS Giants, I have Aaron Cadman, who's probably the best forward in the comp, with a great set of hands, nice tall frame, and is really agile on ground, so compare him to like a Jeremy Cameron. And he kicked 34 goals from 12 games in the NAB League for the GWV Rebels. At pick 3 for North Melbourne, I have them taking Harry Sheezel. Harry has great goal sense and great overhead mark for his medium-sized forward frame. He also, in the NAB League, he averaged 2.6 goals and 19 disposals a game, so it gets enough of the footy and really impacts on the scoreboard. Later in the career, I could really see him pushing into a midfielder and maybe becoming something like a Jordan Ngoe, who can start in the midfield and really push forward and really hurt teams. At pick 4, also for North Melbourne, I have them taking a big-bodied midfielder in George Wardlaw. George is someone who loves the hard ball, loves getting contested ball, and he's had a really injury-riddled season with hamstring injuries. From the 3 NAB League games he played, he averaged 20 disposals a game, so I think he could really help North build a really good midfield. They've also got Davies Uniacke, so those two would combat their games well with each other, I believe. At pick 5, I have Essendon taking Elijah Tsatas. He's easily the quickest midfielder in the draft, allowing him to spread from contests, which uses his speed to really burn teams and really get out of the footy. He averaged 34 disposals a game in the NAB League, and I think he will really make an impact at Essendon this year. Coming in at pick 6, I have Bailey Humphrey. He's a powerful on-bowler who is able to push forward and actually play forward, which he did for a fair bit of this year, and really hit the scoreboard. He averaged 20 disposals a game and kicked 2 goals a game also in the NAB League. He'll need to work on his conversion in front of goal though. Coming in at pick 7 to the Hawthorn Hawks, I have Mattaes Phillipou. He's a powerful midfielder forward with the same mould as Nat Fyfe. He has really strong hands in the air and hits the scoreboard as well. He averaged 28 disposals and a goal and a half a game in the Waffle. Coming in at pick 8, I have Geelong boy Jhye Clark going to the Geelong Cats that they got in the Jack Bowes trade. Jhye Clark is very clean, he's got very good leader, can use the ball on both feet, and has been compared to Joel Selwood and averaged 25 disposals a game down for the Geelong Falcons. Geelong have been looking at him for a while now. We trained with him over the pre-season last year, and I reckon we slot right into a wing role there on for the Cats and then build into an inside mid later throughout his career. Coming in at West Coast at pick 9, I have Ruben Ginbey. West Australian boy who is a versatile player who can play in defence or as a big body midfield. In the national champions this year, he averaged 29 disposals a game. I think this will be a good pickup for West Coast, given they have a few older people in their midfield they could really use with a bigger body in there, so it will be slot right into West Coast 22, and I believe he will start in the midfield next year. Now coming in at pick 10 for the St Kilda Footy Club, I have them selecting Mackenzie from the Sandringham Dragons. Cam is a midfielder who's one of the most reliable ball winners in the NAB League this year. He produced a very high level of consistency across multiple levels to establish him as a top 10 candidate. He averaged 24 disposals a game for Sandringham. At pick 11, I have the Carlton Footy Club selecting Ollie Hollands. Predominantly a midfielder, he has shown his ability to impact both on the inside and outside, with his endurance level and accompanying work rate allowing him to get from contest to contest effectively and burn opponents in transition. He managed to apply the same high level of work rate off the back flank at times, showing that he is a very versatile player. He averaged 20 disposals a game in the NAB League. At pick 12, the Western Bulldogs could be a bit of a surprise to some people, but I have them taking Ed Allan. He's been compared to Mark Blitzcarves, and I think that's rightly fair. He's a dual-sided and big-bodied player who has made the most of his limited exposure in 2022 to show off his high-end athleticism and versatility. Although he only played the 5 games due to injury, he played for the Claremont in the Colts and averaged 25 disposals a game, showing that when he did play, he was very impactful. At pick 13, I have the West Coast Eagles taking another West Australian boy, Jedd Busslinger. He's the leading key defender in the pool, as he stands as one of the few prospects to have played senior state footy this season, looking comfortable with the higher intensity and bigger bodies. He plays with a lot of freedom in the defensive 50, allowing him to roam off his opponent to take a lot of intercept marks. So I'm comparing to a bit of a Jake Lever who can just run off his man, might play on someone a bit small to really impact and really get them going out of defence. At pick 14, I have the Melbourne Demons selecting Matt Jefferson. He is a tall prospect with enormous upside. Jefferson's range and mobility makes him an aerial threat who needs very few opportunities to be able to impact the game. When words like upside are brought up, Matthew Jefferson is the draft prospect that comes to mind. He's 194 centimetres tall, and he's based this high due to his potential that he could have within the AFL. Coming in at pick 15, I have the Sydney Swans selecting Elijah Hewett. He is an explosive and hard-nosed midfielder. Hewett's blend of athletic power and silky skills have led him to be one of the best midfielders within this group of players in this year's draft. He finished the season strongly at league level, averaging 16 disposals and slotting a game in each of his last 4 appearances. He backed his on-field feats up with an impressive national combine where he found himself in the top 5 for agility testing. At pick 16, I have the GWS Giants selecting Lewis Hayes. He's an intercept marking defender capable of playing to or under his 197 metre standing. With composed ball use to boot, he averaged 21 disposals a game in 2022. I think he could really benefit the Giants. They've got a few big defenders down there, but I think under Phil Davis, who could really guide him to show him the ropes, the AFL can really get the best out of him. Also, Nick Haynes, one of the better intercept defenders in the league, could really teach him the ways. Coming in at pick 17 to the Collingwood Football Club, I have them selecting Braden George. He's a damaging medium forward with explosive speed, clean hands and the ability to kick goals from anywhere. On the back of 5 bottom age outings last season in the NAB League, George was in scintillating touch across his first handful of appearances as a top ager. His 5 goals in round 1 and 6 in round 5 were the highlights until a knee injury ruled him out for several weeks. Upon a steady return, he unfortunately tore his ACL early into his second game back. But there are a few players who can do what he does inside the attacking 50. So he'll really work well, I believe, with Jordan to go in the forward line and being at Brody Mychek's feet as well. At pick 18, I have Brisbane Lions using another father-son selection on Jasper Fletcher. He's a prospect with enormous class, capable of playing on either side of the midfield and kicking long-range goals. A foot stress fracture ended up cutting Fletcher's top-age campaign short, and though others who may feature in a similar draft range gained more exposure, the balanced midfielder showed plenty across the various levels where he played throughout 2022, including the Queensland AFL seniors with Sherwood. In his 3 NAB League games this year, he averaged 19 touches and 1.7 goals a game. At pick 19, I have the Sydney Swans selecting Josh Weddle. He's a well-rounded athlete and defender capable of intercepting, rebounding and locking down a variety of opponents. Playing all 4 national championship games, he took on the task of manning some of the best tall forwards of the draft crop. Playing above his size with sound defensive craft, while also looking dangerous on the rebound. He averaged 13 disposals a game. Sydney don't have many needs they need, but I think a lockdown defender will really help them. I believe it will help free up Jhye Clark to play that, where he just floats off his opponent and gathers the ball, which he couldn't do as much this year, as I believe he was playing more of a lockdown. So bringing in Weddle will allow Jhye Clark to play a much freer game for the Swans next year. And at pick 20 to round out the first round, I have GWS Giants taking Jacob Konstanty. He's arguably the best defensive forward in this year's draft. Konstanty manically applies pressure inside the forward 50, creating opportunities for himself and teammates when the opposition makes mistakes. Whilst Konstanty isn't always a massive goal kicker each week, it is definitely argued that he creates more goals than most with his forward half pressure, manically chasing down opposition defenders to create opportunities for himself or his teammates in the forward half. With an average of almost 6 tackles a game from his 14 NAB League games, his effort in this regard is consistent, which will allow Toby Green to really play one-on-one with inside that 50. If you have Konstanty at your feet, and if the opponents are trying to get the ball out of their 50, always relying on him with his pressure to lock the ball into the 50 and get repeat opportunities at goal. Thank you all for tuning into my 2022 AFL mock draft. Please let me know who you think your top 5 for this year's draft will be, who the biggest bolter in the draft will be, your surprise selection, all that kind of stuff. And I'm chatting with Lewis Hayes later in the week, so that episode will be out on Friday. If you have any questions for him, as I haven't recorded it yet, please send them through, and please remember to like and please subscribe. Thank you.